Hello, Katie. I'll let you come off mute when you're ready.
I just started talking. I, I just realized that my lighting is horrible. I need to work on that. There's no sun today. How are
Nope.
you?
I
Lovely.
am good. Thanks for joining.
Sure, sure. Let me just get this plugged in so I can get myself some light here in my face.
You know what you're doing. That's excellent.
Oh yeah, I've done this too many times.
Oh, I know you have. That's for sure.
So here we go. Is that better?
You look gorgeous.
No. Yeah.
Well, let's get started, Katie, whenever you're ready.
Okay, hold on for a second. Let me add more light in the room. Okay, is that better?
That looks great.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, I wanted to say hello and warm welcome to Healing Healthcare's Authors Tour with your host, myself, Dina Redinger, and Sharon Weinstein. We co-authored the book together called Healing Healthcare, Those Evidence-Based Strategies to Mend Our Broken System. Sharon is out on a mission right now, so I will be facilitating today. So Katie, it's a joy to have you with us today. And we want everyone to know that the nurses remain the backbone of healthcare. Little has been done or even studied to remedy a system in crisis. If it's not addressed now, humankind will suffer, and we know that. This book is packed with solutions to the problems that plague our healthcare system today and the issues that lead to these troubling sentiments among prospective nurses and the current nurses that we have in the systems today. Nurse leaders share their experiences, their thoughts, their evidence, and strategies to ensure the health of our healthcare. You'll find actionable steps out of these interviews for fixing systems currently suffering in silence. We might get this book into the hand of those making those decisions. So before Katie and I start, and before I start asking you some questions, Katie, we want to acknowledge all of you out there. We want to thank you for joining us and for those nurses across the globe. And certainly I want to welcome Katie Boston-Leary. And if you don't know her, and I'm sure all of you probably know Katie Boston-Leary because she's everywhere, but she also has a chapter called Broken Promises and Broken Systems. And it's an integral part of our well-being section as today's guest. So we want to take just a moment to welcome you before I go through your background.
Thank you. It's so good to be here, and thank you for having me. And in case I forget to say this, I am thrilled and honored to be a part of this body of work. I think it's needed, and just seeing the slate of authors, a lot of them that I've worked with as well, and or in my circles, or I'm in their circles. I feel even more blessed. So thank you for having me be a part of this. I think it's phenomenal.
Oh, welcome, and we're so heartfelt. Thank you for joining us. You know, and like you said, we said back a year ago when we got done interviewing everyone, and we thought they have all the answers. This is such a powerful group of people, and you being part of that. So we want to thank you for joining us on our journey and trying to help alleviate some of the suffering that we see, you know, today in the system. But I want to tell people about who you are. And if I get anything wrong, certainly correct me. So let's talk about who you are. Director of Nursing Programs at American Nurses Association. Katie oversees the nursing practice in work environment division and Healthy Nurse, Healthy Nation, which is amazing. She's also co-lead for the Project First Line, a multi-million-dollar grant collaborative with Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. She co-chair of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee of the Healthcare Leadership Network of the Delaware Valley, an ACHE chapter. She completed her doctorate in health services at Walden University, obtained an MBA, MHA from the University of Maryland Global Campus, and earned her BSN from Bowie State University in Maryland. And all I can say is, wow, okay, what did I miss?
I don't think you missed anything. I think I struggle to listen to that because it sounds like a eulogy. So I'm good with all that you shared so far, and let's get to the meat of the discussion.
Yeah, let's do it. So one of the questions that we ask all of our interviews is, tell us why you felt like you wanted to be a part of this journey and wanted to be a contributing author.
Well, when I got the call from you and Sharon to talk about the concept and everything else, I was energized. I felt that it was definitely needed. There are a number of other books that are out there in the market, and I think that there's something a little different about what you've done here. And the fact that you've put together this conglomerate, if you will, of experts and people that care. And I also like to say caring experts. I just felt that it was you had me at hello. I had to be a part of this. And I am truly, truly honored. And I can't wait for its release.
Oh, we can't either because we're so excited, you know. And I want to question too, your chapter and your work focuses on two things that jumped out to me. Social contracts. There's one with yourself. There's also ones with your peer. And I want you to talk about social contracts, but also your work with Healthy Nurse, Healthy Nation, because it's powerful. And I joined that group too. So I get something out of it every time it goes through. So talk about social contracts. Why are these important?
Sure. So let's start with that. I have hit an epiphany because of the company that I've been in recently around that concept. And when you mention contract, it assumes something written and signed and everything else. So my bioethicist circles that I'm new to have told me that this is more of a covenant than a contract. There are expectations within it, like you would find with a contract, but it's more of a covenant where it is just this air of what expected, not only in terms of how we treat each other, but it's also about how we treat people that we're supposed to care for and how they're supposed to treat us so we can better care for them. If you want to understand what it means to have this broken in some way, just go back not that long ago to the pandemic when nurses showed up and showed out in terms of supporting people that needed care, putting their lives at risk, putting their families at risk, and just showing up when the essential worker piece was in place and some people were able to be home. But things started to get to a rub when there were certain mandates that were put in place, and there are certain groups because of the politics that have now been infused into what makes sense, particularly empirically. We were forced to still care for those people. And we were also, and not necessarily forced because we felt obligated, and because that's part of the covenant and the contract, if you will. We're not going to not take care of you, even though we know that you did probably something dumb and not following proper protocols. Because yes, there are people that got sick anyway, but there are people that thumb their noses at what we were educating them to do to keep themselves safe.
Right.
And we had to care for them anyway. And there were people that we had to care for that, quote unquote, went down swinging, still using abusive language towards nurses. There was a time, even during this time, because of this, the atmosphere around vaccines and nurses' role in educating the public and giving vaccines, they were also demonized. So a few months before, they were clapping for nurses as they showed up for work, and a few months later, they were vilified. And there was a point where they couldn't show up at grocery stores even without fear of retaliation. So we were setting out messages to nurses not to wear their uniforms and scrubs and jackets and any identifying information on their clothing when they go out in the public. So that's where that showed up. We have an obligation. We don't say no, and it's not written, but it's expected across the body of nursing right. to care for. At the same time, the public has a responsibility to care for us. And that did not happen at certain points and in certain places during that time. So it's important to understand that this is something that's been out there, but what happened during that time, and it showed the fact that this covenant is really in place. And in some places it was broken, but I think we're back on to a certain degree, but the anti-vaxxer movement is still very prevalent. But at the same time, we still care for people that show up at our doors because that's what we do.
Right. Right. As a nurse, what would you tell somebody who has this incivility, which is hard to believe, and it's very real, right? That this has happened, right? What would you like the public to hear about from a nurse's standpoint of view, how it feels whenever you are have somebody that's incivil to you. I mean, people need to hear how that crushes your soul. I want you to expand upon that a little, because I just don't think people really understand what that's like.
Sure. Because because there's an expectation that we'll take it anyway.
Can't do that.
On both sides. There are nurses that also feel that this is part of the nature of what we do. We're supposed to take. And abuse comes in a number of forms, right? It's not just physical. There's also verbal, there's also sexual innuendos and actions as well that fall under that.
Yeah.
So it is a real issue. And I think part of what we need to make sure the public knows is that we're human too.
Right. Yeah.
We bleed, we cry, we laugh, we suffer sometimes in what we do. It impacts us in a number of ways in terms of our own well-being, because we care for others before we care for ourselves. And sometimes these events multiply numerous times throughout the day for a nurse. And it has a compounding effect. So it's important for the public to understand that they have a responsibility as well to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And even if it's a family member of theirs that they're seeing that's acting out, they have a responsibility to keep that family member in check, to not be abusive to a nurse. In addition to themselves not being so I think it's really
we having a pause on our end. I apologize to everyone. Katie, hang in there. We're coming back. I'm not sure what's happening here, but we've gotten a pause here with our video. I think we got you back, Katie.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. All of a sudden, I lost my connectivity.
Well, let me tell you where I think we left off, just in case. So one of the things you're talking about, nurses, we're human, and that the public has a responsibility, and even a caregiver with the person that's in the hospital has a responsibility to keep their loved one who's in the hospital in check. And I've had multiple times with both of my parents in the hospital, many times, and how important that is to step in. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Step in, acknowledge that, put them in check, and let that nurse know that, I'm sorry that that's happened. Right. I think that made a huge acknowledgement to her and say, I'm going to make sure that I keep him in check. Right.
Yes.
I think that's so important that don't, because nurses are not there just to take it. That's another thing. I'm your caregiver. I'm just supposed to just take it. It's like, no, that's not what we're going to do. I want to, jump over to, that body of heart work that you have, Healthy Nurse, Healthy Nation. Speak to people about that.
Sure. Healthy Nurse, Healthy Nation is an online program that it really is an American Nurses Association program funded by very, very charitable partners and funders like Sarah V, Compass One, and a number of other folks to help us with providing free resources for nurses.
Right.
What we have successfully done with this work is to create an online community where nurses help each other heal and give tips and ideas on what they do themselves, make each other better. So what's great about that is that we step out of the way and let nurses talk to each other.
Love it.
Particularly nurses that are in the arena of caring for patients, where it's hard to balance what you do professionally and what you do on a personal side too, because caregiving doesn't stop once nurses leave their places of employment.
No.
If it's not their loved ones at home, it's everyone in their family circle is probably calling them about this, that, and the other, or people in the neighborhood that will call about, hey, check this out, my daughter cut herself, what have. So we never, in some cases, turn off.
No.
So it's a great program. We collaborate with groups of individuals, organizations, but the interpersonal connection is the best part. We also do challenges every month. This month we have an allyship challenge where people learn about how to listen and be open to other cultures and also leverage your skills to be allies, to support other people that don't whose voices and presence is not usually welcome. And we focus on 6 domains: physical activity, rest, nutrition, quality of life, safety, and mental health, not necessarily in that order.
Right.
So our key and what we're trying to do is to make sure that we heal the nation one nurse at a time. There are 5.3 plus million nurses in this country. And we really do feel that if nurses are healthy, we can tip the scales to make this a healthier world, let alone a healthier country. So that is the piece that's really, in a nutshell, what our program is about. We give a lot of information about how people can be well in those 6 aspects. And we've heard some really amazing stories from folks about things that they're doing to improve their health, their overall health and well-being.
I love that. How do nurses out there sign up?
We have a site, and it's HN as in Nancy, HN as in Nancy.org. Once you go on the site, you click where it says engage, and that's where it'll walk you through how you can be a part of this community. We also provide you a heat map survey so you can see where you are in terms of your health compared to other people in your circle of this nursing body that we all share. And then the other great thing about Healthy Nurse, Healthy Nation is not just for nurses. We have a number of folks that are not nurses that are part of this community, and we love it because we all make each other better. Again, this is about healing the nation.
Right.
So yeah, we invite everyone to be a part of this. Absolutely.
I love that. And I'm a part of it. So I think you should all join up. So I think that's great. Last question for you, Katie. What is the takeaway from your chapter? One thought that would lead transformative change?
I think the main thing from my chapter is the fact that we all own our own health and healing. And it also then, on top of that, gets to healing of the immediate community and then the planet. I think if there's an understanding of the gates of love to get on the other side of where we are, because nurses are one of the most unhealthiest professions out there, and our data continues to prove it. Us being better towards each other, for each other, and the people that we're supposed to care for starts with self-love. We have to love ourselves first. And that means, and of course people say, of course I love myself. I take a shower and I put on nice fresh clothes and I drive a nice car. No, it's deeper than that.
It is deeper than
because
that.
we are all our own worst enemies, and we tend to and our own worst critics too. And we are harsher on ourselves. What we pour into other people, we don't reserve that for ourselves.
Right.
So it starts with self-love and it's deeper in terms of appreciating who we are, allowing our authentic selves to emerge, and accepting all the things that we need to do to be better and not be accepting of what the world is pulling us towards to be unhealthy. Once you get through self-love, you get to self-care, where you're doing the action, because self-love is a belief, self-care is the action. And that's the action that's required for us to be able to continue to move the dial to be healthy, because it's a continuum. Because someone jokingly said we're human because we have holes. We have holes. So we're going to experience all types of things, and certain things are going to leak out. So it's important to understand that piece where it requires action on our part. And then the last part of it is system love and system care, where it's really about systems being set up so healthy behaviors can be the standard. And we have to focus on systems because a lot of systems that exist that nurses practice within are sick systems that makes the people within it sick. We've heard about sick buildings, but we have sick systems too. So if the systems work to make those places of healing, someone told me years ago that it would be amazing if the H sign that we see on roads to get to hospitals, if that became a W one day, that would be a great thing. So it's that W piece, right? The W for wellness, where we really think about these buildings and places where care is delivered, and make them so that love is delivered there too. As a system, we'll be in a better place.
I love that. So I heard a couple things. I'm just going to repeat them because I think they're so powerful. So number one, belief. Belief is important. Number two, belief creates action. And then number three, that's system love. So, and I can feel that from you is the love in your heart. Katie Boston-Leary, we want to thank you for today.
Oh,
I got a
thank you for
comment
having
today
me.
too from Edwina Moss who says, thank
Oh,
you,
yeah.
Dr. Boston-Leary, for your continued leadership and advocacy for all nurses, sending lots of love. So we couldn't
Edwina
end
from
on a better
Texas.
note.
Thank you, Edwina. I appreciate you. Love
Yeah.
you.
And
Hope to
we
see
want
you.
to thank you for joining us today. And Katie Boston-Leary, you inspire us. We want to thank you for your movement, for making us all better people and sending love out into the world for nurses and patients and be the advocate for each other. So we want to thank you for joining us today. And thank you for being a part of our great book. Can't wait. Take
Thank
care.
you.